Hey guys, it's Justin here with Summit Racing, and don't hit that skip button. This isn't a rerun. Our Project Jeep Wrangler is back in the shop, not for a repair, not for maintenance, because we can't leave this thing alone. We've had our fun with phase one of our build, but as we told you before, there's two phases to this project, and it starts now with our very latest wheel and tires, laying the foundation for our next modifications. In fact, these tires literally just rolled into our shop, and we've got a set of Toyo Open Country RT trail tires in our hands. These tires are going to let us tackle even more adventures, challenges, and obstacle-laden adventures. They offer better off-road grip than a traditional all-terrain tire, especially in sand, mud, and deep snow. And thanks to the extra thick shoulder and sidewall lugs, these things will dig deep into soft terrain. The thickness also provides impact and puncture resistance, and we'll be wrapping these rubbers around a brand new set of Dirty Life Roadkill 9302s. These wheels offer lightweight 10-spoke design with V-shaped windows. And the forged aircraft-grade aluminum beadlock rings reduce weight while maximizing grip because you can air down a beadlock wheel more than a traditional wheel. And the increased rim wall thickness on these wheels ensures structural integrity under the most severe conditions. Let's get to it and mount our beadlock wheels. So the first thing we're going to do is install our new TPMS sensor. So we're going to grab a little tire lube, brush this thing up, get it nice and wet. Do the same thing to the wheel. We're going to use this valve stem installation tool that we picked up from All-Star, and I like this one a lot because it has this rubber piece on here so you can lay it against the side of the wheel and you don't mess up your nice wheels. So we're just going to go ahead and work this thing through. Another thing I like to do is I like to move it around like this to make sure the valve stem is all the way seated and we don't have any issues. So with that done, go ahead and thread this off. And we're almost ready to get our tire on. You want to make sure your valve stem is installed all the way and it's flush on the back, like there's a kind of a ring around the back, and you need to make sure that's seated all the way up against the wheel. And when you moved it around like that, that should get it into position. So now we're almost ready to put our tire on, but I'm going to show you guys a cool trick before we put our tire on. So one of the things I like to do is I like to take the tire sticker and I like to stick it to the inside of the tire. For two reasons. One, so the first time you drive it, you don't get that annoying tire sticker noise when you're driving. And then B, if there's ever a warranty issue or the tires get recalled, you usually need your tire sticker to get a tire warranted. So by sticking to the inside, I know I have it. So with our tire sticker stuck in our tire, this thing's ready to go on. And before we put this on, I have another cool tip for you guys. So before we put our wheel on our beadlock, we're gonna go ahead and lube this thing up. And we're just using some generic tire lube here. Anything will work if it's tire lube related. I know a lot of guys like to use soap and water. That works fine too. So if you look at your tire, we're just gonna set our tire up on our wheel as an example. But if you look at your tire, you'll have a yellow dot or a red dot maybe. A yellow dot means it's the lightest point in the tire. So we're gonna naturally line that up with our valve stem, because the goal is when you balance a tire, you wanna put as least the amount of weight on it as possible. So if you have a tire with a red circle on it, that means it's the heaviest point in the tire. So with a red circle, you're gonna wanna line that up 180 out of where your valve stem is. So our yellow dot's here. Our valve stem's here. With that all lined up, now we're ready to put a beadlock ring on. We're gonna grab our Dirty Life beadlock ring, put it on there like that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and prep my hardware. Now, since we do live in Ohio and this thing is gonna see a bunch of mud and water, and these are aluminum wheels and steel bolts, we're gonna be using some anti-seize on all our bolts, so if we ever have to take this back off, it's gonna make our lives a lot easier. Now, as you know, never seize, a little bit goes a long way, so apply this very sparingly, or else you're gonna end up looking like the Tin Man. So we're gonna go ahead and never seize all our bolts and get them started in the holes. Then we're gonna grab our Milwaukee drill, which I set the clutch on the drill. So that'll make our bolts all about hand tight, and then we'll go from there and getting into our torquing sequence. So we'll never seize. So as I was installing the bolts, I forgot to tell you guys about one of my favorite features about this wheel. So there's 24 holes in this beadlock. But Dirty Life goes ahead and drills 48 in the wheel for you and taps them all. With 48 holes, you never have to worry about if you break a bolt off it, drilling one out and re-tapping it, or have to putting a nut on the back. Beadlocks can be a little bit of a nightmare, and Dirty Life really stepped up the game and made a really great set. Now, a lot of people are going to be asking what the true benefit of our beadlock is over our traditional wheels, and the fact is that you can air these wheels down a lot more than a regular wheel. With a beadlock wheel, the bead is literally locked to the wheel, so it's sandwiched in between the wheel itself and this ring, and then it's held on by these bolts. So you can drop these things all the way down to 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds of pressure to get the maximum amount of footprint and grip so you can go places. Versus like a regular wheel where you only want to air down to about 15 pounds or you risk of knocking off the bead really easy. With these, this will really improve our wheeling capabilities over the wheels and tires we have now. Not to mention, we're getting rid of our 35s and going to a 37. Not only will these gain us a little bit of ground clearance, but we should get some improved traction as well. So with all our bolts started in their holes, we're gonna go ahead and grab our Milwaukee drill, and I went ahead and set the clutch on the drill for 11. And then we're gonna go ahead and torque these things and get this aired up. Now that we're done making these things hand tight, we're gonna grab our torque wrench and get these torqued. So we grabbed our torque wrench and got this thing all fired up, and we're gonna torque these twice. So our initial torque sequence, we're gonna start off at 14 pounds. Then once we torque them all with that, then we're gonna jump up to 25 pounds, and that'll be our final torque spec. So much like before, we're gonna use the diagonal pattern. So we got our wheel initially torqued to 14 foot-pounds. Now we're gonna go ahead and torque these all to 25. Now it's very important that after you drive this thing 25 miles, you're gonna wanna go ahead and recheck all your beadlock bolts and also your lug nuts. But we're gonna go ahead and get these torqued to 25 and then get our tire beaded up. So just like before, we're gonna use that big star pattern. So our beadlock ring is all torqued. Now it's time to bead the other side of the tire. So I'm gonna stand this thing up. I'm gonna flip it around so you guys can see the bead jump on. Now, the first thing I need to do is I'm gonna go ahead and lube this thing up, because when you're mounting tires, you can never have enough lube. With that done, we're gonna go ahead and throw our air compressor hose on there. So we started to air it up and our bead's starting to go on this side, but it still needs to go on this side. So we're gonna keep airing it up and right on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and air these up to 40 pounds, and I'm gonna let them sit like that overnight with 40 PSI in them to make sure they don't leak. So we're getting close to our number, 40 pounds right there. Go ahead and pull our air hose off. Now let's get our other 4 beadlocks mounted, because we do have a Jeep, so we have a spare as well. And we're gonna get these things balanced, and then we'll get them on the Jeep. Not only do we love our Dirty Life beadlocks that we wrapped these 37-inch Toyo Open Country RTs around, but these are gonna add a lot of function to our Jeep Wrangler as well. It's gonna give us the ability to air down for maximum traction off-road. We're gonna be able to get into a real low number with these, and we're not gonna have to worry about rolling that outside bead off with this beadlock. We're not done with this Jeep. We have plenty of other things in store for our Jeep Wrangler. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Summit Racing YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. So until next time, I'm Justin with Summit Racing, and let's get this thing out in the trails.